Welcome, everyone. We are so excited because today we're talking about milestone birthdays. And there is a reason because our Alex just had a milestone birthday. And so we thought, let's talk about these special occasions, these moments in time that mark something special. These milestone birthdays give us an opportunity to
Mhm.
really celebrate people and to do something out of the ordinary. And so, Alex, let's just jump in. You just had a big milestone birthday. What did that feel like for you?
Well, it was fun. There were some fun elements, and it was hard all at the same time. So I turned 50 just a few weeks ago, and this is honestly the first birthday that's been hard for me. Everything else, I've been like, yes, I'm looking forward to this next decade. I feel like there's still so much. When I thought about 10 years ago, so when I turned 40, I still had a 2-year-old. My life is very different now than it was then. Like half my kids are on their way out the door, and it very much symbolizes a new phase of life for me. Whereas I think the others didn't as much. It just was a continuation more of what I've been doing. This felt like a change. And there have been some changes in recent months that have included grief for me, things that I would not choose. And so here was a big marker that was like, hey, in your face, guess what? All these changes, things you didn't choose. Yay. And that is tempered with this is better than the alternative, right? To be alive is a good thing. To be
Hmm.
alive and to be here and to be presented with some of this difficult and this hard is also a gift. I've been reading a book with my office group called Lead with Prayer. And I just read a chapter last night about praying through difficult seasons. And it really reminded me, articulated so well, that when you are going through a hard time, you gain intimacy in a way that you don't in the easy times with God.
It's true.
If you allow yourself to. So it was just this reminder as I'm going through this, like this is a gift. It's a gift that not everything is exactly the way I would want it to be. At the same time, I have so much goodness. And looking back on the last 50 years, I love the life I've had the last 50 years. And I told my girls, a lot of people at my age might look back and say they have regrets. I wish I hadn't spent my time this way. And I don't have any regrets about how I've spent my time. So that is also a gift.
Know that that's not everyone's story, but we can all celebrate that with you. That is your story. But I think what you bring up is important in that sometimes milestone birthdays are full of joy and excitement for what's ahead. And sometimes they signal grief or loss. And that
Mhm.
could be you yourself, or it could be, let's say you have a child who's turning 18, and that means they're leaving the home and you have some sadness about that loss. So I think birthdays can, because they do mark a moment in time, and with that carries some differing emotions.
Yeah. And maybe some unmet expectations that you didn't know you had until you start having those feelings. And so that's why I think if those hard feelings are popping up, it's really helpful to try to articulate what is the root of this grief. And I think for me, part of the root is there's no going back. Like my kids are getting bigger and I'm not like that's just the reality. And
Mhm.
that's one of a few things in my life where we're never going to go back to the way it was. And so being so grateful for what I've had and what will be, but also recognizing I'm not going to parent little kids anymore. And I
Mhm.
really liked it. Like that was a
Yeah.
really fun phase for me. And so just
Mhm.
that that marker. But, for someone, it could be, I thought I'd be married by now, or I thought I wouldn't be divorced at 50, or I thought I wouldn't, whatever it is that was an unmet expectation. We want to recognize that. And I think holding the tension and saying all of this can be true at the same time. I can be so grateful to be alive. And I can also grieve whatever this part is that I'm grieving right now, that I can hold all of that. God can hold all of that. He already does. And to allow it and present it before God and say, okay, this is where I am. This is where I am at 50. That is life. That is the depth and the richness and the tension of walking on this earth. And so milestones, which are markers in our life, can bring some of that up in a way that can be surprising, or maybe maybe we've been dreading a birthday for a long time because of that. So anyway, that is the charge that we all have to hold it all and to be honest with it, because we could deny those negative feelings too. That doesn't mean they go away. It just means that we're pushing them down and they're going to be dealt with at some point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's an opportunity, actually. I love to reframe, but just reframe it. What is the opportunity in this? That's the question I think that we can always ask. And I mean, I've got some things in my life right now that I'm asking, what is the opportunity in this? Do I like it? No, but there is opportunity in it. And so what is that? And how do I focus on that instead of the reality that I'm not really excited about? So let's transition a little bit to why. Why should we celebrate milestone birthdays?
For me, it's that life is worth celebrating, and that you celebrate your birthday regardless of accomplishments, regardless of circumstances. A birthday is a celebration that God made you and you're alive. That's what we celebrate on a birthday. So I think celebrating a milestone birthday, it is that times 10. It's that on steroids a little bit. We get to be alive, and this is a good thing. And we get to celebrate life even if things are hard, and especially if things are hard. That God calls us to celebrate the goodness that He has here for us, regardless of circumstances.
You said life is worth celebrating, and I'll just add to that people are worth celebrating. I think of Psalm 139, and it just talks about how God knit us together in our mother's womb so uniquely that He knows us. His stamp is on each one of us. And I think birthdays are an opportunity for us to call out the beauty in that unique person that God has designed. But milestone birthdays, we just do it a little bit differently. We do it a little bit more. The bar raises a little bit. And I love that, because ultimately what we're doing is we're just calling out the good work that God has done in His creation, which is this beautiful person who is like no one else in this world, who has their own unique stamp, their own fingerprint. It's so beautiful to me that God literally puts a unique body and soul in every one of us. And so it's just a chance for us to really call out the goodness of God. We're really glorifying God by calling out the goodness, by celebrating this person.
Yeah. Well, let's give some specifics, some examples from our own lives about how we have celebrated milestone birthdays, with either for us or for people we love. And the intent here is to just spark ideas, but also to give some larger principles around why we chose to do the things we did. And then also to talk about how we can be good celebrators of other people, because often we're not just the ones being celebrated, but we're the ones in charge of making the celebrations happen. So this is meant to spark ideas in all of us to be thinking about the people around us, or even for our own birthdays coming up, what would be a wonderful way to mark a special moment. So, Krista, you and your family are great at celebrations. So why don't you give us some ideas from years past of what you've done?
So let's just start with adults, and I'll
Mhm.
just really go recent. Both of my parents just turned 80, and that's a big deal. And I love spending time with them. And we did a podcast, two-part series with them on legacy that was incredible. I encourage everyone to go listen. But in that, they talk about their process with downsizing. So really the last thing they need is more stuff.
Mhm.
And what we're looking for, I think, in these milestone birthdays are experiences that bond us and draw us together. And especially for like an 80th birthday, a 70th birthday. We took them to Leavenworth, which is this really fun Bavarian town in Washington State. And if listeners, if you have not heard of it, you need to look it up. It's such a special little spot, worth the trip. And we just spent time together and we had so much fun. My sister even brought surprise costumes because it's Bavarian town. And so she had my dad literally in like one of those German hats with the
Mhm.
feather. And I mean, it was
Where did she find that?
Amazon, I'm
Amazon?
sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
And she got all of us, the women, so my sister, my mom and I, aprons that looked like a Swiss Miss,
Mhm.
Bavarian girl. So we had these aprons on, and then Eric and my dad had on these hats and lederhosen. I mean, it was hilarious. And we were with our big steins, at one of the
Mhm.
Bavarian bars. It was so much fun. And it just created a memory. I mean, and my sister's a little zany and she's fun like
Mhm.
that. But we just had the best time and we had just fun, you know, that kind of a moment. And then we had like sentimental moments where we were at a really nice dinner and we shared, we went on walks, we swam around in the pool. I mean, it was just so fun being together. And that was how we celebrated their 80th is when they didn't turn 80 at the same time. So we combined it and just did a combined trip.
Mhm.
So that's one idea.
Yeah, so the principles I hear in there are fun, like really laughter, fun, something you don't normally do. You did something that was unique that you don't do every day, and then being together.
Mhm.
So those are the things that I think make for a great celebration.
Yeah. Yes. And I'm just going to mention the Post Hotel as a like dream bucket lister for anyone who's listening. And if you go to Leavenworth. Okay. Alex, let's talk
Mhm.
about the 50 birthday. Let's
Mm.
talk about what you're doing for your 50th.
Mhm. Well, I will say I've had a few little celebrations up until now. I had some friends who kind of took me away for a weekend, and we just went to one of their homes. Like, we didn't even go to a hotel. We just did a sleepover at my friend's house. We had a 50th birthday sleepover, and they just said, "Show up 10 a.m. on Saturday. You'll go home on Sunday." And they planned everything, but mostly it was a lot of talking and a lot of eating. And they were very cute because they texted my oldest daughter and asked her, "What are my favorite sweet snacks, salty snacks, drinks?" And I showed up with a bag full of drinks, and they thought it was so funny because they already had all of them. They already had the Diet Coke. They already had the cucumber mint water from Target that you can only get at Target. So, anyway,
It's so funny. Both of those things you just mentioned, when I see them, I think of you.
yeah, my signature. So,
Yes.
that was a very special, like, they really tried to make it personal to me.
Oh.
So that is a principle, right? And they knew that what I wanted was time together. That was my value this year for my birthday. So that's going to be evident in all the things I did. Then I had kind of a day with my mom on my actual birthday. My mom and my daughters, we had a fun day. And then I went out to dinner with Derek and the girls. Um, my extended family came over one night over that weekend. So I kind of had a long weekend of one-on-one time with people, which is also what I wanted. Um, but when Derek asked me a year ago, as we were anticipating, "What do you want to do for your birthday?" I'm actually not even sure if he asked me. I think I just said. What I want for my birthday is I want to hear Garth Brooks in concert.
Which
Now,
I didn't even know you loved him that much, by the way.
right. And that is everybody's reaction. That is absolutely everybody's response. Like, but I didn't even know you liked country music, is what people say. But here's the thing. I think Garth Brooks, if you're a Garth Brooks fan, you know that 90s Garth Brooks is like the pinnacle, right?
Oh, it's iconic.
So I just think that music, those songs, his voice, take me back to my 20-year-old self, which is my core of who I am. And it takes me back to a moment in time where I felt really hopeful. I felt really excited about what was ahead, what I wanted out of life. And a lot of my life has turned out exactly that way. I wanted to be well loved, and I am. Like, it just, for some reason, it felt so right. So when I did a little research to find out where do I go see Garth Brooks in 2024, there's one place, and that's Las Vegas.
Vegas, baby.
And
Vegas
so
is where you're going to go see Garth.
that's right. And Derek was like, really? Garth Brooks, Las Vegas? Okay. And I was like, well, what if Eric and Krista come? And he's like, oh, okay. Well, then let's do it. He wasn't sold on Garth. He was sold on you. So, yes. So my sweet friends, meaning you, are making it happen. So thank you very much. It's going to be a fun celebration, but we did have to plan it months in advance. I got tickets in January or something for this fall. And we had to get it on our calendars. We had to sync with all the things. And so that is another element, is that if you want to do something more on the epic side, you got to plan for it. And Krista, I think you experienced, like, sometimes I have to be the one to plan in my family. Like, I can't leave the planning to my husband, or it's just not going to happen. So making it happen, saying what you want, I was able to articulate, this is what I want, and let's make it happen. So
I really like that. And you know what I like about that too is that, I'm all about, let's just play to our strengths. So if you are the planner, instead of being upset that someone is not getting something on the calendar, you just get it on the calendar, and I'll never forget when my sister, she wanted to go for her birthday. She wanted to gather people, make flower baskets, and then go deliver them as a random act of kindness. And so she just did. She just did it. She's like, I'm planning my own birthday. This is what we're doing. And I love that posture. I'm not just going to feel sorry for myself that people aren't doing what I want them to do and reading my mind about that. Like, you're just like, okay, here's what I want. And if you're not going to get it on the calendar, I am. And that's because that's my strength, and I'm going to do that. So way to go. And at 50, you figure those things out.
That's right. That is right. That is right. So that's my big thing. And then I do have some friends from college. We all are turning 50 this year. And we try to get together once a year. It doesn't always work out, but we said, okay, we're going to make it a priority. So again, this fall, months after my birthday, but it's going to be like a group celebration. Like, we all turned 50 this year. So those are my two things that I'm still looking forward to that kind of draw it out. And I think that's another thing, a milestone. I've had a lot of people tell me you can celebrate all year.
Yep.
And I think you can. Why not? So, and it takes some of the pressure off of that weekend or day or week that is the actual birthday. If you have to go to work, or if you're with someone in the hospital and life just isn't like the best moment ever, to say, it's okay, I can celebrate this in a month, and that's going to be okay.
Exactly. Yes. Holding things loosely. As we get older, or maybe I should just say in first person, as I get older, the more I learn the wisdom to being fluid and holding things loosely, and how it makes everyone happier, including myself. And it makes life so much easier. Let's also talk about 40 or 50, turning 40 or 50 or 60, and how those ages really signify, okay, I'm entering a new decade. I'm getting older. I'm in midlife now. And one of the things that I think can be helpful is continuing to nurture
Mhm.
your own self and grow yourself. And so I want to throw out as a 50th idea, 40th, 60th is take a week-long cooking class. Take art classes. Go show up at the tap dancing studio and take
Mhm.
tap.
Yes. Yes.
Take singing lessons. Do something that's going to either bring back a love that maybe you've shelved in
Mhm.
busy life, or that's going to nurture and create something new that it's like it's this new wellspring that's going to come out of you. Because I do think those things help, it makes us feel alive. So there's a lot of
Mhm.
research around when we're really stressed. A lot of people just think I have to cut back, I have to cut back, I have to cut back. But actually, that's not true. What they say is you need to add something, but what you need to add is something life giving, that
Mhm.
something where you can go into flow and then you have this renewed energy for your life. And
Mhm.
so I just want to say that I think we often don't take the time or spend the resources to do that. But milestone birthdays are a great excuse to do it, to take the time and to pay for it, to make room in the budget for something that you may not normally do.
Mhm. Yeah. And I think Derek was a great example of this when he turned 50. The one thing he wanted to do was climb a 14er, which for people who don't know, that's a 14,000-foot peak in Colorado. We have a whole bunch of them, and it's a thing people do. I've never done one. They're hard. They're hard to do. But he used to do them all the time when he was in his 20s. And he hadn't done one in a long time. And it was the end of COVID. It was 2021. And so he invited our 2 older girls to do it with him. So they had to train, and I swear he came down the mountain a different person. Like
Yes.
he he had the best time. It was
Mhm.
hard for the girls, but they did it. And he tapped into that part of himself that had been dormant, and he
Mhm.
shared it with them, and that was meaningful. There were just so many layers of, I am not dead yet. And I think
Mhm.
that's what learning something new or tapping into something that you really love
Mhm.
reminds yourself, consciously or unconsciously, that there's still a lot of life left.
Mhm. You know, you talking about that spurred on another thought as we're thinking about how to celebrate people well for their milestone birthdays. Doing something that's tailor fit, because Eric, when he turned 50, my husband, similar. The boys for his 50th gave him, 2 of our boys, gave him climbing Mount Hood with him, which anyone who knows Eric knows that there's nothing he'd rather be doing than climbing a Cascade Mountain. I mean, he grew up doing it. That's his love. But what I love about that is in that gift, they said, we know you
Mhm.
and we know this is what you love. Or for Gabby and Genevieve to say, we're stepping up for you, Dad, because we love you and we know this would truly be the thing that would make you feel loved and
Mhm.
celebrated. And so I think this just gets to that point of when you're planning someone's birthday, and Priya Parker, who wrote The Art of Gathering, she's so good at this. And she helps people to really clarify, what is the purpose of this celebration? What's the purpose? Well, the purpose in milestone birthdays is to make that person feel really loved and celebrated. And yet that's going to look differently for
Mhm.
every single person because of how they're wired. Another person, may want to go to Powell's bookstore in Portland and spend the entire weekend just looking at books and reading all weekend. Maybe that's going to be the thing that makes them feel celebrated and loved. So really thinking through, what is it that this person is passionate about and how can I kind of come alongside them in that? Or like words of affirmation. So can I share about the
Mhm.
text bomb that we did for you, Alex?
Oh, yeah.
Well, knowing that you are words of affirmation, I thought, what could I plan that would give you lots of words from people who
Mm.
you love? And so I contacted many of the sisters who have done mastermind groups with us, and we all text bombed you at 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern, and you just got tons of texts all at once. It was like thinking through Alex's love language is words of affirmation. So how do we create that for her?
Hmm. And it was so sweet and kind and delightful and interesting too. I mean, people had different approaches in what they sent. And some people were funny, some people were brief, some people were really long. And but even that was so delightful to me, to have different interactions with people and to reconnect with so many. But it was wonderful. I would rather that than something that cost a lot of money. Like, to me, that is so much more valuable than something that would be really expensive financially, because it was expensive in people's thoughts and time, that it cost them something to remember to
Mhm.
do that and to text me. So thank you to everybody who did that. And thank you, Krista, for organizing that. It was very sweet, very sweet. And I knew the second, like, I started getting texts from people, I'm like, well, I haven't heard from her in a while, and she knows it's my birthday. So Krista did something. it was clear, but that's fine. It's good.
Uh-huh. Well, and I just love that it was tailored to you. I knew that's
Mm-hmm.
what you would like. And
Mm-hmm.
so I love that thought of whatever milestone birthday you're celebrating is really thinking through that for people.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Anything else on celebrating adults? Anything else you want to mention there?
It can also, this just gets to like the whole growth thing is, I think part of what Derek liked about climbing the 14er was the challenge. So
Hmm.
it could be that you do a challenge for yourself too, maybe for the whole year. But when I turned 30, I did a sprint triathlon, my one and only.
Hmm.
I don't ever plan on doing one again. I was in really great shape because of it, not because I was already in great shape, but I had to train for it for months. The swimming was very intimidating to me. Um, but it was something in that moment I decided I wanted to do. And do I want to do it now? Did I want to do it this year? No. So I think also giving yourself permission to celebrate in different ways at different seasons too.
Hmm. That reminds me, I didn't even know you could do this, but for one of my friends' 50th birthdays, was it 50th or 40th? I can't remember. She gathered a group of women to do Beyond Young Life's Beyond Malibu
Oh yeah.
up in Canada, Malibu Club in Canada. I didn't even know you could do that. I didn't know adults could sign up for a trip to do Beyond Malibu. We did Beyond in college.
Mm-hmm.
Derek did Beyond with us. But anyway, isn't that so fun that she thought of that? Okay, I'm going
Mm-hmm.
to gather some women who would also think this was fun, and we're going to do a really challenging trek for 5 days
Yeah.
through Young Life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
Fun.
cool. All right, well, let's transition to kids. Milestone birthdays with kids. Talk about what that's been for you, Alex, and just why are these important to do with our children?
Mm-hmm. Well, I was thinking, often for kids, every birthday feels like a milestone in their mind. Like, it's a big deal when you turn 7, and then it's a big
Mhm.
deal when you turn 11. And so, like, because their sense of time is so different than ours, because one year is such a bigger percentage of their life that they feel like this is it. So when I was thinking about it, we don't have real specific designated birthdays where we have done something for everybody. So, for example, my oldest 2 daughters, when they both turned 18, not the same year, but different years, their celebrations were different because they wanted different things and we had different things going on in our lives. And I remember Gabby wanted to have a dinner here with her friends, and the big thing was the flowers. She really wanted beautiful flowers on the table. So that gets to the tailoring, like what is important to her this year. And then we also had something with our extended family. And then last year, Genevieve turned 18 and Julia, our exchange student, lived with us. Well, Julia really wanted to do something to help celebrate Genevieve and was very involved in the planning that was different than what I would have planned. And yet I needed to hold it loosely and say, okay, this is the only year Julia's going to live with us and be here for Genevieve's birthday. I'm going to loosen my expectations and let it be what it is. And so that has been the guiding principle, a little bit of what does this young person want this year? Because they change so much from year to year, this year for their birthday. And I will say, we just had someone celebrate her 13th birthday. So it's our last one, turning 13, a few days before her actual birthday with some friends. And what she wanted was so simple. She wanted to ride bikes, to have a picnic, and to have a fire or fireworks at our house after. It was
Cute.
not a big production. I never would have pictured that as being like the celebration to turn 13, to become a teenager, but she was so delighted with it. Okay, so you, I think, have some traditions that you have carried more from child to child. So why don't you share those with us?
We do. We have some traditions even across our extended family. One of them has nothing to do with me, but my parents take all of the kids on a 10-year-old trip by themselves. And if there's a couple of cousins that are turning 10 at the same time, they'll take them together. They actually like to do that, is have a couple of them together for that trip. But that's been really special for my parents. So for any of you that are about to become grandparents, that's a fun idea for you to keep in mind for the future. When kids in our family turn 13, we do a 13-year-old walk. And that has been really beautiful. It has been different for every kid. Some kids are in the winter and we do a wintry walk, and some are in the summer and we do a summer walk on a dirt road. But the family members position themselves in different parts of the road or the walk. And then we each get time with that birthday boy or girl as they're entering their teenage years. And we give them something. So we've done it where we give them objects. So like, for example, my dad gave the first grandchild who did this a money jar and talked about financial stewardship and how they had to start thinking about that as they go into their teen years. Sometimes it's like I gave a rock to talk about kind of the foundation of family and God, and that is your rock in this world. And you're going to face turbulent teenage years, but know that your rock stands firm. We did books one year for one of them where everyone gave a book to that person, because it was actually one of my sons and he's a big reader. So a book that has been very impactful in each person's life, and they explained why that book was so important to them. And then they gifted that book and wrote in it. So it's been a really beautiful tradition that at the end we all gather and we pray over that person and their teenage years. And I've loved that tradition. And then for 16, we just do something kind of fun. We do 16 surprises for a 16 birthday. And that could be everything from, 5 packs of gum to delivering pizzas at school to, a few of their friends, like going thrifting and having to find the best retro basketball team outfits. So, I mean, it's just been so fun. We have loved doing that. And that's just been more lighthearted in nature. And then so my son was studying abroad this year, but a lot of his friends from college were also abroad. And they all came to Rome, where he was, for his 21st birthday. And so we actually, for his birthday, got them a place to stay together, because it's hard in Europe to find places that are big enough for that. So, and his apartment was tiny. I mean, literally like a matchbox. So that was really fun to provide an opportunity for their connection, even though we're not a part of that. We knew
Mhm.
that would be really fun for them. And I did the same thing with our daughter when she was turned 21. She and I spent one night in this little Airbnb, and then the next night all her friends came, and then I left, and then they just had one night for all of
Mhm.
them. So, things like that have been really fun. We do something for the 18 where we have some of their mentors come and speak into their life. I think the point is there's some rituals and some rites of passage that in other cultures, they do this too. They just do it differently. That there's something to ritual and helping kids kind of make that leap and transition that means something. And that's really beautiful. And that when we're intentional about speaking into people's lives, we get to those deeper heart places. And that's really meaningful.
Mhm.
And a lot of times when we celebrate, and Grant, I mean, I'm a party girl. Like, I like the dancing, I like the loud music, I like the costumes, I love all that. But at some point, too, and this doesn't mean every birthday, but we also have to go to the deeper places for it to be meaningful and significant, or else we're always on the surface and we're never getting to some of those deeper places.
Mhm. Well, yeah, I mean, I'd like to just often skip to the deeper places, which is why for my birthday, like, I just wanted small groups and quality time and lots of talking, and that just was the ideal birthday for me for this year. And, um, for kids, we often have to be the ones to put in that structure to make those conversations happen. And
Mhm.
sometimes kids are more receptive to it than others, but
Right.
we don't want to force it. And at the same time, it's okay if our kids are a little bit feeling like this isn't how we normally talk. It's okay to push the envelope a little bit and say, but today is different. Today is different because you only turn
Mhm.
16 once or you only turn 18 once.
Mhm.
So I am going to say some things that I don't say every day, perhaps. So to feel okay and empowered in that, where we're not trying to force intimacy on our kids, but we are trying to model that intimacy sometimes has these bigger conversations. And, in our culture in the US, I think a lot of our rites of passage have to do with increased freedom. So
Mm.
I have someone turning 15 in a few weeks. I already have her appointment at the DMV for her to get her permit on her birthday. Um, when my oldest daughter turned 21, we took her out for her first drink, if you will. Um, we just had someone in our life turn 18, and I bought him 18 lottery tickets because there are a lot of things you can do in our culture when you turn 18, but a lot of them are really weird. But here's some lottery tickets. But just to not everything has to be big, but to
Mhm.
recognize like, oh, things are changing. You are getting older. You are going to have more responsibility. And that can be fun. And you can participate in it with them and mark that. But
Mhm.
for sure, I think having those deeper conversations, this is a moment where we
Mhm.
can be intentional. It offers an opportunity.
And affirmation circles, I think, are a really easy way to do that, where
Mhm,
everyone just says something specific about that person that they
mhm,
appreciate and they love. And that takes it deeper. And a lot of times that feels safe to people. So I want to encourage that. Okay, well, this has been a great conversation, Alex. I think milestone birthdays, like we said at the beginning, are an opportunity. And so I look forward to hearing from all of you about what you are doing to celebrate your milestone birthday or one of your children's or maybe
mhm,
a friend's. I mean,
mhm.
we're the friend planners too. So maybe it's a friend's birthday. But tell us your creative ideas because we want to hear them.